Babawayil, also known as Babawayil and the dowry-free village, is a small village in Indian-administered Kashmir's Gandarbal district, around 30 kilometers away from Srinagar, and at an elevation of 1,786 meters, or 5,859 feet. It is known for its banning of dowries. One village in Indian-administered Kashmir is bucking the trend for lavish weddings with an outright ban on dowries.
Gandarbal, Indian-administered Kashmir. It is said that 750 years ago, a respected Sufi saint named Syed Baba Abdul Razak came all the way from Baghdad to this central part of Indian-administered Kashmir, seated at the foothills of Guttalbagh, to preach and promote Islam. He ultimately founded the small village of Babawayil, population today 6,000, and was later laid to rest here in the community of people whose main trade is the cultivation of walnut trees and the weaving of pashmina shawls. The majority of people in this small village are of the Shah caste, Muslims who believe they are directly descended from the lineage of Prophet Muhammad.
Surrounded by mountains and lush green trees, it takes around 2 hours to reach Babawayil from the district capital, Gandarbal city, which is 28 kilometers, or 17 miles, away. The roads are poor and there is very little in the way of public transport. Many of the homes in the village are newly constructed, but there remain a few older mud houses, which have mostly been abandoned. People meet each other in the fields or at the small village market. Women can often be seen chatting at the spring from where they draw fresh water for drinking. Here people live ordinary lives, much like those of other small communities in Indian-administered Kashmir. But there is one major difference. This village has rejected the notion of lavish weddings and has placed an outright ban on dowries in a bid to return to a simpler time more in keeping with Islamic tradition as taught by the Sufi saint all those centuries ago. For a time, weddings here were much more elaborate and expensive affairs, in keeping with the cultural traditions of the region. But stories abound of families being forced into debt to meet the ever-increasing expectations for celebrations and dowries. The marriage dowry, paid by the bride's family to the grooms, has long been an important part of Indian culture. Dowries can be paid in cash, but also in gold or home equipment, like TVs, washing machines, refrigerators, and furniture that is given to the bride by her family to take with her to her new family. It is not unusual for middle-class families in India to spend around 1 million rupees, which is about $13,340, on a bride's dowry to reach an agreement for their daughter to be married. The Kashmir village that put an end to domestic violence by banning dowries. The dowry system was made illegal across India in 1961, yet it remains in widespread use, and disagreements over the payments often lead to violence. In Kashmir, where women have been set on fire in dowry disputes, the traditional village of Babawayil has taken a stand. Nestled in the foothills of Guttalbagh, Kashmir, the hamlet of Babawayil offers its residents a simple, tranquil, and traditional life. Its 1,000 or so villagers pass their time farming walnuts, trading pashmina shawls, and attending Friday prayers at the local mosque. Many have stayed all their lives in the community, which proudly traces its roots back 750 years to when the Sufi Saint Syed Baba Abdul Razak arrived from Samarkand, Bukhara, which is modern-day Baghdad, to preach and promote Islam. It was he who laid the foundation of Babawayil, later dying and being buried in the village that bears his name. While tradition runs deep in Babawayil, the village is known locally for its modern stance against the payment of wedding dowries, an age-old social practice in which the bride's family is expected to make a payment to the grooms. The dowry system was made illegal across India in 1961, having been blamed for encouraging the oppression, torture, and even murder of women, usually at the hands of the groom's family, in cases where the payment was deemed insufficient. yet it remains a widespread problem in a country where arranged marriages are the norm. In Uttar Pradesh on Sunday, a man beat his wife to death for failing to meet his dowry demands, and in Jammu and Kashmir, it is not unknown for brides in dowry disputes to be set on fire. In 2019, police in the territory recorded 8 dowry-related deaths against a wider backdrop of gender-based violence, in which 3,069 crimes against women, including rape, molestation, and domestic violence, were reported, and 381 kidnappings of women for forcible marriage.
Babawayil took its stance against dowries decades ago, denouncing the system as going against the teachings of their founding saint after a meeting of village elders in the late 1980s. Not only were dowry payments causing violence, but they were putting an increasingly unacceptable financial strain on families. What's more, argued the elders, the social harms caused by the system meant it was un-Islamic. As a consequence, tough measures were introduced banning anyone who demanded a dowry from entering the local mosque or from being buried in the local graveyard.
"We do what Allah and His Messenger advised us in the Quran," said local Imam Bashir Ahmed, while addressing worshippers at a recent Friday prayers. Rather than the bride's family paying the grooms, in Babawayil today it is the other way round.
Ikra Altaf, 25, is pursuing a Master's in Commerce from Indira Gandhi Open University. There are some false notions about our village that the people living out here are backward and do not come from high education backgrounds. But this is all baseless. We, the girls of our village, are well educated and know the traits of living a happy and simple life even after marriage, she said. The literacy rate is above 70% in Babawayil. If a young woman wants to continue her studies or work after marriage, she gets full support from her husband and in-laws.
She added that the youth of Babawayil were even helping to spread the village's modern ways further afield, refusing dowries when marrying outside the village. When we marry boys outside the village, we do the same with them. There is no give and take, or in between. We follow our traditions strictly, said Saima.